Yeah, hello everybody. Hello Trailblazers. I'm so glad you've come. On behalf of the TRIA Germany user group, welcome to today's ISV Landscape session in which we explore solutions from third parties in the Salesforce ecosystem. My name is René, I'm the TRIA user group leader and I'll be your co-host for today. I have the pleasure of co-hosting this nice session with Rodrigo Rosas Zamudio from the Veracruz, Mexico user group. Over to you, Rodrigo.
Thanks, René, for having us. Hello, everyone. As you heard from René, my name is Rodrigo Rosas Zamudio. I'm the community group leader for the Veracruz, Mexico user group. And welcome everyone and greetings from Mexico. Our esteemed guests and speakers are Alexander Schares, am I pronouncing it right? and Tim Mathis from Salesforce ISV Partner LightBlaze, who will present Campaign Ad Audience Builder. This session will have 3 parts: intro, demo, and Q&A. In principle, you can ask questions at any time. For that, please raise your hand, or rather save them for the Q&A. Our volunteer Jonas will moderate the questions. So let's get started. Alexander and Tim, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So let me quickly share the screen and then we get started. Whoops. So, all right, perfect. Thanks for the introduction and nice to meet you all. So today's topic is how to master audience management in Salesforce. Upfront, why are we here? Why are we talking to you? So my name is Alex. This is Tim.
Hi.
And yeah, our career started like 10 years ago. We started from university and then worked at a big German consultancy for around 5 years. And basically in every second project that we led or worked in, the client came to us and asked, hey, Alex, how can I segment this? How can I automate that? And I was like, why is there no solution to do that? And now fast forward, 5 years later, we founded our application. But to that later, let's start with the root cause. So what are like common challenges in the Salesforce ecosystem when we talk about segmentation? The CRM data is scattered across different objects and you cannot really access it. To build audiences out of it, in most cases, you have kind of IT dependencies because the marketing department isn't capable of implementing it or building audiences. Or if they do so, it's lots of manual work, slow campaign execution, and that's really pain because it's repetitive work over and over again, slowing people down. And in total, it's just poor segmentation capabilities. And yeah, I was sitting there like 5 years and was asking, why the F is there no dedicated segmentation tool in Salesforce? And I was asking myself that over and over again. And one day I was sitting there with Tim and we figured out this needs to stop. Why? Because when we look at Salesforce, searching for that dedicated segmentation tool, the tool that comes closest to it is the report builder. And as it's in the name, report builder is there to report on something, but that's basically it. If we try to use the report builder for segmentation, we have plenty of limitations. So as you might know, report builder is building up on report types. You have maximum 4 layers of connected data. It's all top down. So once you have data structures, this is more vertical. You cannot access it. Reports are timely snapshots, so they don't stay up to date automatically. If you want to have an updated report, you need to go into the tool, rerun it, export it, or do whatever you want to do with the report. There are also limitations in terms of sizes. So once a report has more than 50K results, you cannot add it to campaign. You have this standard feature, add to campaign. if your report results in 50,001 results, you cannot add it to a campaign. And there's also no kind of cleansing. For example, you've added them to a campaign and members are outdated. It's always like pushing on top new records. But if there's outdated data that you want to have out of the system, you have no option to do it. And lastly, you also have no real integration to your marketing tools, being it part of Marketing Cloud, Flows, or other third-party tools like HubSpot, for example. And yeah, what I experienced over those 5 years at my first job were, I've summed it up as 4 workarounds, and most likely you know one or all of them. So the most common one is with the hands-on mentality, you go and use the report builder. For example, your goal is to build a nested audience where you have multiple objects included. You would create 3 or 4 reports, export them, go into Excel, do all your VLOOKUP magic, and 1 hour later, you're happy with the new audience results, you re-import it. And if you want to have this list updated next week, you start over and over again. So you burn hours and hours each week doing manual segmentation. Another more technical approach we often see is doing it the IT way. It's like writing nested SQL queries, then using anonymous Apex to do whatever you like also create campaign members with the anonymous Apex. But as you might think, that's no marketing job. So the usual end users that we're talking to that want to do segmentation are marketing guys, and they dislike or aren't capable of writing SQL queries and anonymous Apex to do the job. And yeah, maybe the worst thing I've seen is, I've called it here data model adjustments, is people went in and started to create hundreds of helping fields on the contact and account level. For example, a summarization of the total number of won opportunities will be stored on account level, just so I can report on contacts and accounts, on kind of opportunity data, contract data, product data, whatever you name it. And as you can imagine, in the background, you have all your record triggered flows or Apex classes that update those helping fields. This slows down the system tremendously. You have all these background actions, and in the end, hundreds of irrelevant fields for that specific object. And then the fourth option is BI tools. You somehow do the job in different tools. So you leave Salesforce, go into BI tool, do your segmentation elsewhere, and then come back with the final audience results. And all of them have plenty of drawbacks, being it time consuming, being it pretty technical, being it bad for your data model and your whole system architecture, or BI tools are also pretty expensive. And you're leaving Salesforce to do the job somewhere else, which is also not the nicest way of doing it. And yeah, one new topic, not really new, but this is something we get asked a lot lately, is the topic data cloud, which might fall in the same category of BI tools or external tools to do it. And yeah, I've put it now in 3 categories to compare data cloud to campaign audience builder. And what's the difference? When would I recommend which tool? And yeah, starting with the scope of the tool. Data Cloud itself is a whole new platform. You integrate, harmonize, and unify data. It's strong when you have multiple data sources. So the Data Cloud will become your central hub, your new single source of truth. And also from a roadmap perspective, it's like the foundation for new Salesforce tools, like Agentforce, like Marketing Cloud on Core. That's what Salesforce is pushing, to have Data Cloud as the foundation. Campaign Audience Builder, on the other hand, is just an add-on to your core cloud. So for those companies that work primarily on their Salesforce core, that have all their data in Salesforce core, then it's just a new tool in your toolkit where you can do your segmentation and the activation of that data. The second category, and for many companies the most relevant category, is pricing. Data Cloud right of now is a pretty unclear pricing model. It's Now, using the tokenization approach, you don't know how many tokens you might use because it's all built on the Data Cloud token tool. And yeah, in total, it's pretty expensive, not just in terms of what does the token cost, how many tokens do I need, but also, as mentioned before, it's a new platform and it has a large upfront cost because you need to implement it. You have your implementation cost, and on top of that, your adoption cost. Which users are using it? How do I need to enable it? In the end, I need key users, and it's not just your Salesforce users that already is used to it. So there's a big price tag on the Data Cloud part. Campaign Audience Builder, on the other hand, we have a transparent pricing model. You can see what will it cost depending on your parameters, like how many licenses do we need, and it's pretty cost efficient. So in direct comparison, it's like a tenth or a fraction of the cost what a Data Cloud costs, and you on top of that, you have a free setup, you have free enablement session, and you're up and running in like 2 hours. Final category is simplicity. As mentioned before, Data Cloud is a new platform and it has plenty of feature. Our focus is talking about audience management and segmentation. That's also just a fraction of the functionality of Data Cloud. And it takes time until the key users have adopted and know how to use the Data Cloud. Campaign Audience Builder, on the other hand, you need to learn one skill. This is segmentation. And on top of that, it's built in the SLDS Lightning user interface. It's point and click, and this is our main approach to have it as easy as possible for the end users to use. And in conclusion, when would I recommend Data Cloud? When would I recommend Campaign Audience Builder? Recommendation for Data Cloud is really if you need or want to use the whole platform, like all the features that are available, and you have like multiple data sources that you want to harmonize. Then Data Cloud is the tool to go because that's something Campaign Audience Builder can't offer. On the other hand, when you're really working primarily on Salesforce Core and you're looking for a tool which enables you to do segmentation and activation pretty fast, pretty cheap, and pretty easy, then Campaign Audience Builder might be the correct tool for you. So I'm speaking about audience management, maybe quick definition round here. For me, audience management consists of 3 steps. The first step is really the segmentation. So we somehow want to generate a list of people or companies that match my specific criteria that I want to segment on. Then there's the second phase, which is the activation. We need to take this segment that we've built and transform it into actionable data. So it needs to be pushed into the Marketing Cloud, into Parted, or I have it available in my Salesforce campaigns. Then the data is activated, and then there's like the missing step, and this is the action. What do I want to do with my activated data? I can send outbound campaigns, I can build journeys that they run through, or I could also do like data management. I can update or enrich data, gather insights of my audience over time. This is the definition, or at least my definition I brought to you. And yeah, translating it into Salesforce terms, in step 1, I want to generate my segments based on people or companies. The classic people records we have are leads, contacts, or person accounts, and companies are accounts. So that's my end result. I want a list of those kind of objects, and then I want to activate my data. And in terms of activation, we have, just to name a few, we can add the data to the campaigns, to Parted, to the Marketing Cloud. And on top of that, I want to have intelligent tools that help me to schedule my data so it's been kept up to date all the time, and I want it to be cleansed. So if criteria change, I also want to have it updated and cleaned so that only the relevant audience results stay there. And the final part is communication, like sending emails, SMS, or also transferring it to a tool for example, prints that are sent out, which is most likely done in your marketing tools like Parted, like Marketing Cloud, and also data actions. Maybe you want to update a contact field. So you generate a list of contacts and you want to do specific updates, or you want to create records related to results. For example, you want to create tasks. Or if you're still doing some manual offline topics, you can also update the data, and export the data, and then do whatever you like with those exported data sets. Yeah. In summary, looking at audience management, there are in total 6 highlight requirements that, from my point of view, are relevant when I want to have a proper tool for audience management. The first one is data accessibility. So I want to have access to all relevant data in my database. It doesn't matter how complex or nested this data is. And that's like first priority. Then it should be easy. I want to have a point and click tool where I can use a few clicks, no code, no SQL, and build my audience. It should take a few minutes maximum, and my audience is finished. Same goes with audience size. There shouldn't be limitations. It doesn't matter if I want to target like 50 records or I target 2 or 3 million records. It must be feasible of doing so. And on top of that, I need automation. I don't want to do redundant manual steps. The tool should work for me. It should make my life easier. So the audiences should be kept up to date. I define the schedule and I go hands-free. Cleansing is another part I already mentioned before. Records should be cleaned up, and that's it. And all my data should be integrated. If I'm working with the Marketing Cloud, I should be able to transfer it in the Marketing Cloud. If I work on Core, it should be easy to transfer it to Salesforce campaigns. And whatever other tool you name it should be able to be integrated. So, and now we do the switch to what might be a tool we brought to you today that can solve this. And this is Campaign Audience Builder. So now we start talking about the elephant in the room, our tool, Campaign Audience Builder, which is basically an application that you install on your core platform. Like on the AppExchange Campaign Audience Builder, it's just a package that you install. We also often get asked, hey, what do you do with our data? We do nothing with your data because your data lives in Salesforce. We just give you a new tool that enables you to segment data. So we see here, the step that's being brought in is segmentation. We have our audience builder where you define your criteria. This simply accesses the Salesforce database. So you have access to all these standard fields, custom fields, other fields from managed packages that you have installed, and you define your set of criteria. And if this is done, it generates an audience list. And with that list, the question is, what do I want to do? I can activate my data by pushing it to my marketing tools, and I can also apply actions, like launching a Salesforce flow that updates fields or that creates records, and all fully updated, and also the option to export it. Quick run through. We're going to show you all the details in like 1 minute in the tool. Which features do we bring to you that enable you to do all the audience management requirements? So first part is all about flexible segmentation logic. So you have cross-object data connection. So as long as a record is somewhere collected using lookup fields, master detailed fields, you can access it, and it doesn't matter how nested it is, how many child relationships you're looking to. And yeah, we also bring record aggregation on the table. So this is like a feature that enables you to do calculations on the fly. For example, you want to have the sum of amounts of one opportunity should be greater than 10K. And then it doesn't matter if there's one opportunity of 11K or if we have 6 opportunities each of 2K. The sum of total amounts should be greater than 10K. And we don't need to store that somewhere in the database. It will be calculated for you. And we also have simple exclusions, so we can say with or without specific records. That's pretty standard. Then we bring the automation and cleansing features. I mentioned that before, so quick skim here. We have scheduling features, we have cleansing features, and also on the campaign level, we have campaign member deduplication. If you have, for example, some duplicates in the system based on the email address, we also bring a small tool that enables you to remove those duplicates. And final part here from the overview, we have multiple integrations. We have direct integrations into Parted, we have direct integrations into the Marketing Cloud, and which is even the most powerful part, you can build your own integrations and actions using Flow or Apex. So you could create a flow that picks up the list of audience members, and then you define what to do. Send it to a third party, create records, you name it. And yeah, we've brought now 2 examples for you that we're going to show you in the system, just to have like a picture in mind when I talk about audience. What's like an audience? So this could be like a requirements, business is coming to you. The user story is something like, please give me a list of all opted-in contacts that have an email maintained, that work and purchase with their lead source of event, of accounts that have won opportunities, where the total price of their product solar panel is greater than 500 euros, and that are not already part of our reactivation campaign. So these are like common requests key users have or business users have, which they preferably would solve themselves, and in the past they couldn't. So this often results in IT tickets or the manual Excel work, which we don't want to do in the future. And yeah, with that, presentation is over, and now we go to the fun part, and this is like live demonstration of the solution. So let's jump into the org and open campaign audience builder. Quickly see if I'm in the right org here.
Yeah.
But it should be the correct one. So yes. So first, let's have a look at an already existing audience so that you first get familiar with how does an audience look like. And that's one I already prepared. That's also the one I've written to you right now. So we're now on the audience canvas, and the canvas is could be quite familiar. It looks kind of like a flow builder, or in Parted, like the engagement studio. So you have your UI here, and it started with the contact node. That's the example I've built out. So when I open it, we see here specific criteria. So we said they should have an email address. So we choose the email field, say is empty false. We check for the email opt-out field. It should equals false. They should be from the department purchase, and the lead source should be event. We have all the tools here that you need, so this should be familiar to you. You can say, okay, all conditions should be met, or any condition is met, and also custom logic. So you could build it out where you say, okay, 1 and 2 or 3, but not 4. So you've the full flexibility in terms of segmentation criteria. But now for demo purposes, I keep it as it was. So we say all criteria should be met. And we said we want those contacts of accounts. So we have this relationship to the account, and from the account, we have now our aggregated relationships. You see it on the blue line. This indicates we have an aggregation. And you see here on the summary, our aggregation is the sum of total price is greater than 500, and it's filtered on a specific product, which is the solar panel. And all those products should be only of opportunities where the stage is equals closed won. And we see here, we ran it a few hours ago. It returned 210 results, but we now execute it again and get our results list. Maybe something changed in the database, but this is a test system, so it's still the 210 record. And this was now the step of generating our results. First, we defined the audience criteria, and now we have our results. And this is the step where we ask ourselves, what do we want to do with that data set? For that specific example, I want to show you the Marketing Cloud integration. So Marketing Cloud integration, how does it work? How does it look like? So we have here different options. We now just focus on the marketing part, and we have this action here, add to data extension. So this org is already connected to our Marketing Cloud. And when I click add to data extension, I don't know who of you worked with Marketing Cloud. If you do it in the Marketing Cloud, you want to have something similar, it's pretty complicated. First, you need to set up your synchronized data extensions to get all the database information into the Marketing Cloud. Then you need to create actions where you build your SQL queries that then in the end push it again to another data extension. And this all in the old and dusty Marketing Cloud UI, which is already from the first glance quite confusing to most marketing users. And how could a better future look like? Just like that. You build it in Campaign Audience Builder and then you say add to data extension. You have two options here. You can either create a new data extension or choose already existing data extensions and push it to that. To showcase you how easy it is, we're going to create a new data extension here, all in our UI. So let's call it Ohana Trier data extension. It's already linked to our business unit and the folder. You could also change it. For example, you have a multi-BU setup, then you could also change it to different business unit and select different folders. Let's keep it simple here. And we say next. And this is the screen where you now define your data extension fields. By default, you can already see we have two predefined attributes. First is the Salesforce ID. In our example, this is the contact ID because we generated a list of contacts. And we have the last synced at date, which is just a timestamp, which indicates when was this record the last time synced by our tool. This can help you, for example, use cases where you want to do cleansing in the Marketing Cloud. Then you could, for example, filter out records where the last synced at is 5 days ago. That meant it wasn't updated, so it must have changed. That way you can build custom cleansing on the Marketing Cloud side. And now to add a few fields. For example, we want to do a basic email, so we need the email address and let's say first name and last name to do some naming personalization. Therefore, we say new here, and it can be pretty simple. So we can choose pre-existing contact fields, for example, email. I select the email and it already pre-populates my name, my data type, so you don't need to touch it. You can change it, but you don't need to. And optionally, you could put a default value in. You can define it as a primary key. You can mark it as required. If it's required, only records where this field is maintained will also be pushed. Otherwise, the synchronization for those records will be stopped. We hit done, and easy as that, we have a new data extension attribute. We do the same now for our name fields. So we have the first name, keep it as simple as that, one click, first name. We do the same for the last name. Same again, one click, done. And now we have a data extension with our 3 additional fields, email, first name, last name. We hit done. Data extension will be created in the background. And this is basically the mapping step. So this would also look the same if we selected an existing data extension. We now need to map our audience fields to the data extension. So it's pre-populated because we've already set that in the data extension definition, but we could also change it. So we could say last name, we have a different field that we want to store in the last name field, or we could add a fixed value. For example, last name is Miller, but that wouldn't make sense because then every record would have the last name Miller. So in that case, we keep it simple here as it was before. We have the mapped last name field, we hit done, and that's it. We now have on the Marketing Cloud offsite a data extension with those 5 attributes, and those 210 records are already synced to the Marketing Cloud. So pretty easy? I think so. And now we're gonna check and see how easy it is to build it, because we just looked at a predefined audience and now we want to build it by ourselves step by step. So we really see how fast and snappy all this audience building can be. So I jump back to my home screen and I'm gonna create a new audience here. Let's call it Ohana Trier Demo Audience. And in this first initiation of audience creation, there's the only relevant part is the audience object that defines what type of audience do I want to generate. Do I want to generate a list of contacts / person accounts, a list of accounts, or a list of leads? And in like 95% of cases, clients build contact lists because those are the more challenging nested records, because leads are in most cases one-dimensional. Accounts are companies. I don't talk with companies, I talk with people. So in most cases it's contacts, but you could also build account and lead audiences. When you work with the tool and you have plenty of audiences, you could also build like folders in here to have all your separation levels and categorizations. I leave it for the demo, and we also have like a sharing model. If it's private, only the audience creator can see the tool, the audience, and if it's public, everyone can see the audience and work with it. Then we hit next, and that's where we land now on the audience canvas, now on a blank canvas. And let's quickly check the example that we wanna, let me see. So this example we're gonna play through now. So we wanna have, again, the same contact filter. So they should be opted in, they should have an email, they work in purchase, and the lead source should be event of accounts of type client that either have a one opportunity or an active contract. So we have 4 objects involved with an or differentiation, and let's see how to build this. So back to the canvas, double clicking my contact node opens that level of contact filter. And we've seen it before. There were our 4 filter criteria, like email should be maintained, it shouldn't be opted out, purchase department. This is all repetitive, redundant work, and that's like daily business. You often have your criteria that don't change that much, and I don't want to type it in, so we have an option to copy existing filter. If I click it, I see here different options from different audiences that were already pre-built, and I select one click, and boom, all my criteria are pre-filled. So it cost me 1 click and I have all the criteria. Email is empty false, email opt-out is false, department is purchase, and our lead source is event. That's all I wanted. Perfect. I hit done. And now I want to build my relationship model. So we said we want to have contacts of accounts that have either one opportunities or active contracts. And how do I build this out? So we have this small button here. And when I click it, we open the relationship menu. And we have 3 types of relationships. So parent relationship is really from a database perspective, the parent. So for example, a contact has a parent of an account, and vice versa. The contacts are related records of the account, or for example, opportunities are related records of accounts, and aggregate is that special form of related records where you not only check for one record, but for aggregations. Like I mentioned in the slides, the sum of one opportunities should be greater than 10K. So to build this out, our next level is the account, because I said those contacts should be of accounts where the type is direct customer. So I choose parent relationship, and the tool already proposes me all available relationships. It also already pre-populates accounts because it's most used, but you could also empty it, search for your records, or select a different one. But in that example, account is already the right one. I click next, and on that level, I wanted to select my account type. So I go in, select account type, I set direct customer, I choose it, I hit done, and then I go into the next level. So what was the next criteria? I want to have accounts with closed won opportunities. So from the account level, I want to go downwards to related records, and in that case, opportunity records. Again, I get my selection menu. Which relationship do I want to use? And it's opportunity. I select it. I click next. I hit filter conditions. Now I'm interested in the stage. It should be closed won. Here we also see a new option, which is the filter setting with or without. So I could also say without opportunities in the stage closed won, or if I have no conditions, without opportunities at all. So you can really tweak it regarding all your audience requirements. But in that case, with is the correct option. I hit done, and now we see we have our new node for opportunities. And I said I want to have either one opportunities or active contracts. So we also check for contracts that are related to my account. So I go back to the account level, select related records. Now I check contracts here. And again, I want to check in that case for the status, should be activated. I hit done. And by default, it would now check for it must have a one opportunity and an active contract. But on the account level, we now have a new option, because once there's a second child filter, choose is it all child relationships or any child relationships. And in that case, it's any. We see it also by the dotted line. This indicates is an either or connection. And that's it. That's what we wanted to build. So we want to have our contacts with a specific contract criteria of direct customer, either have a one opportunity or an active contract. Now I hit run and see my results, and the results are empty. Okay, somewhere I must have messed it up. So let's go back into the edit mode and see where it went wrong. For those use cases, test mode. So we can activate the test mode and run it. And it will now check each and every node and gives me back where did it went wrong. And it started already at the start, so account turned 0. So I must have messed something up on the account level. And when I check it, I see, okay, customer channel, I chose the wrong account type. So to fix that, I go back into the tool and I see it, okay, customer channel, but I wanted customer direct. So we remove the channel part here and we're interested only in those direct customers. We hit done, go back into the test mode, restart it. And now we can see, perfect. Now we get results for accounts. It will update accordingly and we see, okay, there's now 391 results. And that sounds valid based on my database knowledge. And I say, okay, perfect. Let's check those results. And there we go. Again, we are now back on the final audience results page. And now we got to ask ourselves, what do we want to do with my audiences? In that case, I want to push my data into a Salesforce campaign and want to work on from there. And we have the option to edit to a campaign, which is a one-time manual step, but that's again manual and one-time. We want to have it update frequently. Another option we have is also we could split it. We could do like a manual A/B testing where we split those results in, let's say, 10% in campaign A, 10% in campaign B, and the remaining 80% in campaign C. And that way it's all properly split. But we now gonna show you the automated part. And therefore we have our scheduling hub. So we can schedule our audience. And in the first step, we define the schedule. So when should it run? Each day of the week. What's the frequency? Like the smallest frequency is every 15 minutes, kind of real time. But in most cases, it's not that time critical. So you could say it should run an hour or 4 times a day, 2 times a day, or once a day. Define the start date. When should it run? Close to midnight, for example. And you could also say start immediately today, or it's something that should start in weeks and it's only like a June campaign. So it should also automatically start at the end of June. We hit next now that we've configured the schedule. And we define our actions. And as mentioned, we want to add it to a campaign. So that's our step here. We want to add it to a campaign. And now we choose our campaign. And it's now a special client dinner event in Portugal that we want to invite you to. And we select the member status. For example, we indicate we already sent it to him. And what's also cool here, you already get an indication if other audiences already target that. And one tiny hidden feature, but powerful feature, which I mentioned in the slides, is here. If you click Show Advanced, you open the cleansing menu. So what does cleansing mean? If I activate it, the tool will check our target campaign. Are there already campaign members that don't match my criteria? If so, please remove them. That might be a bit too harsh. Maybe you want to have records in there that should remain, and you can also limit that. So we have the option to limit my cleansing, and that simply, if I activate that, will only remove those members that were added by this specific audience. There are plenty of use cases why this is helpful. For example, you have different audiences that should be all pushed into the same campaign. You don't want to have them override each other over and over again. Or you have sales guys that edit manually their MVPs that also should never be removed. Then always tick this box. And if you work with your campaign member status for reporting purposes, for example, someone that already responded, even the criteria changes shouldn't be removed. So you could also manage that by setting up statuses that are ignored. So we hit done here. It's all set up. We could also add multiple campaigns here. So one audience can be pushed into multiple campaigns. Data extensions I already showed in the previous audience. So you could also schedule data extensions so that it's also updated every 15 minutes or every hour. And on top of that, Flow and Apex, I'm going to show you after this here a few examples of how you could utilize it. So I click schedule. Now my schedule is set and it will be updated frequently as I defined in my schedule. And that's basically all you need. No more touching. It will run for you daily. And that's all you need. And yeah, as I teased for you, Flow and Apex integration, we can have a look. Let's quickly jump into the tool. Let's have a look at a flow we've built to see how simple it is to set this up. So we have this flow here, which simply it's called cap create tasks. So this is an auto-launched flow that simply we can have a look. It loops our collection of contacts. This will be the variable from my audience that's filled with all the records, and it will assign task values for you, like what's it related to, what's the contact, what's the subject, what's the due date. Will be added, all those tasks that we created will be added to a list, and in the end, we create all those tasks. Pretty simple. And how is this connected in Campaign Audience Builder? So let's have a look in our cap settings. There we have final actions, and we have our create tasks here. Let's have a look into that, and that simply gives us the possibility to create final actions, it's called. So we call it create tasks, and if we hit next, we see we set the audience object. It's for context relevant, because when we build a flow that takes contact data and then we execute it on a lead audience, it will run into errors. So it's always per object defined. We take the relevant fields from my contact, like who's the owner to assign it to, what's the account ID to relate it to. And then we have the input parameters, like the context should be transferred. We have days from today, which gives us the possibility to set my due date, like 30 days from today, the due date should be set. And we have our subject. For example, we could also pre-fill it, like this is a crazy subject line, and we hit done. And it's already activated. So if I go back into my audience and see my results again, we have it integrated here. So we have our create tasks tab, and you see here 30 days from today, crazy subject line. I hit run. Now it executes the auto-launched flow. So with one click, we have actionable data, and we can check a record here, open records. And as we can see here, this is the new one, crazy subject line, created in a second for all the records that were part of my audience. And that's basically it from the demo perspective. So there are plenty of smaller features, but from a upper level, I think that sums it up. So we have one currently work in progress, which I will teaser to you, which is still up and running. Let me quickly open it. And from a perspective, here we go. So what are we currently working on? And what we're working on, I want to get rid of this bar here. Nope. So back, there we go. It's called audience sequences, and this allows you, what I've showed you is creating single audiences. But when one audience is already powerful, I think multiple audiences combined is a real working horse. And there's two differentiations of it. We have audience combinations, which allows you to sequentially combine audiences. Let's say you have campaign, or you have audience 1 and audience 2, and you want to have both combined. So you would create a union, and then you would say, okay, but audience 3 should be excluded from it. So you can attach an exclusion and could then say, okay, now we take audience 4, make an intersection, and then I have a new final audience, all out of a combination of audiences. And a different part, which is already like a common term in the segmentation world, is a waterfall. So waterfall is basically a prioritization of audiences. You start with your highest priority audience, select the second one, and the second one will exclude all records that are already part of audience 1. Then you add a third audience, and it will have its specific audience members, but excluding all of them that are in audience 1 and audience 2, and so on. So that will be our next release. I can give you a small sneak peek of it. So we can create a new audience sequence here in the future. And you say, okay, let's do waterfall Dria, and we choose the waterfall. We hit next. And on that level, it's quite simple, but really powerful. You now define your waterfall audiences. So let's give it a minute to breathe. Here we go. So to build our waterfall, we click Add Audience, and we simply select it. For example, we have a few demo audiences prepared. First, we want to have all contacts with an email address. That's our first layer. Then we want to say, okay, those are priority because they have an email address, they have better data quality. I want to send them an email. And then I want to have my second audience, which is just all contacts. But all contacts now exclude those contacts with an email. And so I could say, okay, for my first audience, I want to do an email campaign. And for my second audience, I want to do a printed letter campaign because we don't have an email. So we send them a letter. And you can add as many audiences as you want to build your priority. And then you hit run. And the sequence will now be executed. And we see here, first we have 18 contacts with an email address. We refresh it quickly and we see, okay, remaining, it's just 5 results that don't have an email address. And from here on, I could start, and then it repeats like we've seen before on the audiences, that we can define actions. Then we see our final results, can say, okay, add it to campaign, send it to the marketing cloud, and so on. So that's like the waterfall feature. And the other feature is the combination, which might be even more powerful. So Ohana Dria combination, and we choose the combination part. And the procedure is basically the same. We select our audience. For example, we say we want to have our all contacts, which is our initial audience now. And now I want to combine it. So we see here already a small change. We have to choose an options. And we want to now say, okay, all contacts, but for example, intersection, which would mean only those that have an email address and are also on the all contacts part. Or we can choose exclusion, which is basically all contacts, but without those that have an email address. Or we could choose a union, which is basically both combined groups. In this example, I choose let's take the intersection. We click save. And also here you can add as many audiences in your sequence. We hit run. It will be executed now. And we already see, okay, in the first initial part, all contacts, we have 23 results. And now the intersections is only 18 left, which is also the same number we had before in the waterfall. And yeah, this is like a forward-looking statement. I didn't brought this slide to you because everyone knows it, everyone hates it. It's currently in development, but soon to be released. And yeah, that's it from the live demo part. I jump back into the slides, and there's only one slide left, and this is Q&A time. So for Q&A, I would also propose we come into your room because it's easier to talk in person in one room instead of here jumping between the slides. So let me quickly go back to you. And yeah, I stop the sharing here and come over to you.
Is Mikro on?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, LightBlaze Campaign Audience Builder. Thank you so much, Alexander, and thank you so much, Tim, for this great presentation. I think it was really enlightening, both the explanation part and the demo part. Rodrigo, maybe you also want to say a few words of feedback?
Yeah, thank you, René. It was awesome. It was a nice demonstration. It's a very useful, I can think of very various uses I can get of this application. It was great.
Yeah, and we also saw some forward-looking functionalities here. So kudos to the presenters for sharing parts of the roadmap with us. I'm handing over to our volunteer Jonas, who will manage the Q&A part. And yeah, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much again for that great presentation. So now, if you're watching us around the world, please feel free to use the Q&A section of Bevy to ask your questions there. In the meantime, I would ask the local audience, are there any questions here? So you can ask yourself. Yeah.
No questions, but it's been a great presentation. Like your experience is slick. I loved everything about it.
Thank you. What wasn't there already a question posted?
Yeah, two, I think.
Okay, yeah. Just open them or read them.
Yeah.
Okay. The easiest way.
Okay, then we go to the online questions.
Yeah.
So, Rodrigo asks, I saw that the contact filter settings can be saved or imported. Is it like this?
Currently it's just like we check existing audiences that already use the contact filter, for example, and you can access all already pre-built filter collections. So that's the current setup, but also forward-looking statement. There's something in the backlog which we've planned on is really pre-creating like a filter library that can be centralized, and then it's not just the already used one, but you can really build a library of filter settings. So that's also something for the future that an admin can prepare, and then it's accessible in a click and all then imported actually on that audience. Yeah.
Thank you. I asked that because I saw the button copy the filter.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that when I use Pardot, by the way.
Mhm.
So most of the times when I'm doing this segmentation lists, I had to go through. They had to have an email. They hadn't been opt out. They hadn't been hard bounds. So it's just the same and the same and the same. So if there was this possibility to copy these standard filters I always do, it could be nice.
Yeah, definitely. So that's already available. Once you've built it once in audience, you can pre-select it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, then there's another question by René. So do you want to ask it yourself?
Yeah, I can ask it myself. It's maybe more interesting. So is Campaign Audience Builder compatible with basically all Salesforce products? Because you showed specific ones on your slide.
Yeah.
Or is it compatible with any app I can install on Salesforce?
Yeah, so basically, as long as it's stored in the core cloud, the slide was too small to add all the products, but yeah, to answer it, everything that's stored in the core cloud, except something like big data objects, so not the real objects, but yeah, all Salesforce products, all AppExchange products, everything that's stored on the core database is accessible.
Yeah. So all standard objects in Salesforce, no matter how nested.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. I'm sure not even all of those objects are reportable.
Could be, yeah. We have plenty of nonprofit is a huge niche of ours, and there we work with the NPSC or now the nonprofit cloud, and it's really, really nested and nasty. And yeah, we get to make it work for all of those orgs.
Yeah. Okay.
I got a question, or two questions. One, is it possible, just for a quick introduction, I'm also working a lot with Pardot, but is it also possible in your solution to do a report based on could you show me all the contacts who got a specific document or got more than one document or at least one document or something like that?
By document, you mean stored in Salesforce?
Yeah.
Because the first separation we often get asked, and there is a limit if the data is just in the parted database, you don't have access, like email, our emails bounced or something like that. there's like a hard bounds, but since certain information are also replicated in the Sales Cloud of products, so that's something we can access. And yeah, this piece of, is there at least one or multiple, you could use the aggregate feature, depending where it's located. So you could say context of accounts where the file document of accounts has at least 2 entries, something like that. Could be doable.
Great. And another question regarding, do you, unfortunately I didn't see it, is it possible to do like an exclusion, or is it exclusion is only the feature you will bring in the future?
It's already there. So from if you have related records, you can say with or without. So the without part is the exclusion. So you could say accounts without opportunities.
And can I do it also like minus a specific list, or
by list?
I mean, for example, I would do all my contacts minus the ones I already invited to a specific event, or who are competitors.
Yeah, definitely. So first example with who are invited to a specific event, for example, you could say contacts without campaign members of that event, for example. Then those are excluded.
Okay, great. Cool.
Yeah.
Regarding your roadmap, you've shown us one feature that's under development. Could you maybe briefly elaborate on major items on your roadmap, if such exists?
Yeah, so the 2 big parts are, as mentioned, the audience sequences, and another one is the, which I mentioned, the brain fog. What did I mention? Maybe you can update. The collection library, like filter library, and something Tim is already exploring is the big word Agentforce and agents. How could we bring in an agent to make it even easier without maybe tipping and building all your filters manually? Maybe we will add a prompt builder where you simply type in different prompt, and campaign audience builder will then build the audience for you. So that's like the 3 big parts. Agent prompting is under research.
Sort of, yeah. So it's actually, from my research, a harder problem than I thought, because it's basically a text to SQL problem, and that is like a research topic currently. And it very much, like from my prototyping, it comes down to giving the right context to an LLM, so that it knows, okay, which of my relations are interesting. Because in Salesforce, if you say contacts with opportunities, that can like be 5 ways how that is interpreted. It could be contacts with opportunity contact roles with opportunities, could be contacts over accounts to opportunities or lookup fields. And that's something I found quite hard to get like the correct result in terms of my audience configuration, because the LLM might not understand what you are asking for the same way you are thinking about your data model. So that's quite challenging, but I think it's still interesting and something we consider, and will also maybe like explore ways to work with that ambiguity. So sort of the tool could give you different options, okay, and explain to you maybe also like over this relation you would get 5,000 records. Over this relation it's only 3. So so
you could maybe eventually talk to campaign audience builder and
So
final question on my part. Could you remind us of your license model? And how do I get this into a trial? How do I try out your app?
So starting with the license model, we basically have 4 editions. So we also offer a free edition, which is the limited part, so excluding the automation steps, and it's limited in terms of how many audience executions can I have. So audience execution means added to a campaign, but you could go ahead, build like 50 audiences, and 5 times a month you can execute it. So it's still better than going into the report builder and Excel 5 times a month. So we still save a lot of time doing that. And then we have like the advanced option, which removes those limitations. And the next step is the professional, which adds all the
automation integration steps, and then there's the ultimate, which adds on top Marketing Cloud integration and Premier Success Package. That's in terms of available editions. The named editions, which are paid, always come in a core package, which includes 3 licenses. So you get always 3 licenses, and if you need more, it's paid per additional license. And yeah, answering your question, how can I get started? So it's available free in the AppExchange. If you want to test it in a sandbox, you can test it as long as you want. So we don't want to put a timestamp on that. You want to test it, you want to get to know it, take your time. And once you go into production, we have a 2 weeks free trial. After that, so no commitments, automatic downgrade to the free version. And if you want to opt for a paid version, you set up an agreement and then you get the licenses unlocked.
Is it a checkout app though? Like, do I need to provide payment details in order to retrieve a trial from AppExchange?
That's great. It's an agreement app, so we set up a personal license agreement and there, and get started.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have a raised hand here.
Yeah, so Rodrigo.
Hello again. Just regarding this new features you're planning, I just would like to add a suggestion. In the combination icon, it will be clearer to see the Venn diagram icon instead of this I don't know, boxes with lines.
Yeah, that's still work in progress. So we want to update those icons and make it more visually clear.
Yeah, when you just switch to the next screen on the segmentation, on the combination icon, I saw the Venn diagram, and that was just
good point.
Crystal clear to me.
That won't make it live.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, be sure to check out the app campaign audience builder on the AppExchange. Maybe play with it. I think Alexander and Tim are always grateful for suggestions, LinkedIn connections. Yeah, if somebody wants to post about their experience afterwards. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Are there any remaining questions? It seems not.
Looks good.
Then, yeah, let's close. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you to our great speakers, to our audience, to our physical audience in Trier. Thank you so much, Rodrigo, for the collab. Let's maybe do more of that down the road, shall we? And yeah, wish you a great day in Mexico and a nice time to everybody else, wherever you are in your time zones. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.